So good morning and welcome to this Flourishing Friday at the Village Web Company in Stockport. Today we're going to be looking at creating collaborative partnerships, and I'm joined by a brilliant panel of social entrepreneurs here who are going to be sharing their insights and experiences into how to get the partnerships going that really work for your organisation. So I'm going to pass over.
You're going to pass the laptop.
Would you want me to stand? No, I'm going to stand like this. So
yeah, because you don't want to get the angle of that shape.
We'll just sort the angle out. So that's the big thing I've ever seen.
Do you want me to get a wheelie chair? You can have it a little bit higher.
We need a robot.
Oh yeah. I'm Vic, and I'm the founder and I suppose I'm the CEO of Mike Media. And I just have to say that it's short for microphone, not some guy called Mike. There's no one called Mike in my organisation. Not that I've got a thing against Mike's, but sorry. And we're a podcast production and training agency. So we create podcasts for clients, mostly working with other social impact or value-led corporates, and we do training as well. So we show people how to make their own podcasts. So I get out of bed every morning to amplify the voices and stories of underheard people, organisations and companies. People we've worked with, so last year we worked with Oxfam, GM Moving, worked with Plan UK, worked with the Houses of Parliament. Couldn't think which one that was. Worked with Hi, worked with Flourish, worked with Asthma. So that's me, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Hi, my name's Beth. Nunn, my organisation is called Pipes Individual Excellence. We are a Stockport-based social enterprise who work with young people and women to help get them future ready. We deliver a series of programmes and workshops, both in schools, educational settings, and also in communities to help ensure people become future ready. So we focus on 5 sort of key slices of the pie. Used to be an English teacher, sorry. So we talk about communication skills, digital skills, project management skills, community links, and cultural capital opportunities. So everything we do links in with one or all of those pie slices. I'm an ex-teacher, and that's where my sort of passion comes from, for supporting young people and ensuring they're getting everything they need outside of the academic curriculum, as well as what they're getting inside of it.
Thanks, Beth.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Worthington. It's quite weird seeing yourself like on the screen. So this is my business. Welcome to the Village Web Company CIC. So primarily I build websites and deliver digital skills training. That's the bit that sort of pays the rent and does the other stuff. I also, when I'm not kind of the side of it that's a social enterprise, is about offering people who are starting careers in tech work experience placements. So I work with local schools, local colleges. When people think web developer, they don't think black middle-aged women. I don't know why that is, but they don't. And there's plenty of room for other people to be in tech. So things like offering work experience placements for people is a way of doing that. One of the things that's probably more known for around here is that if you're 80 years old and you've got a phone that you can't work, or you don't know how to deal with the council's website, that Claire in the village will help you. That started from me mouthing off on Twitter about how bad the council's website was and who was sort of mainly affected by that. Romley's got a lot of older people. I literally live around the corner. When I moved to Romley in the mid-90s, we had, I think it was 8 banks and building societies. Now we don't have any. Those elderly people are still here, except now they're waving the bank cards about and they're suddenly having to do everything a whole new way. So the idea is that you make money with the websites and then you can sort of use the profit from that to hang out with the elderly people. Getting the balance right varies, but that's kind of what I do. And I knew I was going to carry on doing that. So that's why I'm a CIC. I baked it into kind of being part of my business.
Hiya, I'm Rachele. I founded the old Abbey Taphouse and Steam Hubs and Pubs CIC, which is a social enterprise pub. And out of that, we launched a radio, which has now become its own CIC, which is Steam Radio. I've also been part of a housing co-op where we found some land and got some land to build some houses on. And I'm currently working for PlaceCal, as well as all that stuff, where I'm building partnerships online, and I'm trying to build a partnership with Club. Well, I've got a partnership with Flourish. And what I'm trying to do is get you all listed on one place with a map which connects all your events in one place, so you can all see each other, and then you'll all be part of a partnership, and then you might be able to find it easier to find each other. So it'll be like an online directory listing. So if you've got any time today, please see me afterwards. It takes 5 minutes to sign you up, and I can do a bit of extra digital skills training too.
You get a proper pitch later for that.
Cool. Hello everybody, my name is Abbey and I am I've got many hats on, but for today I'm the Director Lead for Stockport Race Equality Partnership. Essentially the reason why we actually developed the organisation is mainly because most of ethnic diverse communities in this locality are usually at the fringes of service provision, and so we wanted to get them into the mainstream. But to do that, we have to create opportunities for development, and we also have to nurture particularly refugees and asylum seekers, so that they level them up to enabling them to actually develop this pathway transition. So some of the things we do, we've got a community hub right at the centre of Stockport, and within that hub we've developed the ethnic diverse network for those who have ideas that they want to create. So it's kind of like a pre-development before they can get into this stage. And so we're working with quite a lot of people on that. We also work with young people in terms of their aspirations and attainments, and also embedding the cultural perspective as well. We do awareness raising event, and there's one coming up which I initiated last year, and this is the second year, and it's the Stockport Race and Culture Awards. And again, that's really embracing the whole idea of cultural diversity and bringing it at the centre stage in Stockport. The other things that we do is really creating these opportunities so people can identify themselves as being part of this locality. In terms of partnership, work with Greater Manchester Combined Authority, the local authority, Sector 3, you name it, we've worked with it. People in this room I've worked with as well, and yeah, there's so much more, but the whole idea of collaboration is essentially right here in this room right now, and I'm so pleased to be here.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Right, I'm going to sit down. I'll try and wedge this so we can see. So I won't apologise for the lo-fi recording, because actually it's a really vital piece of what we do. Obviously, like you say, Abba, collaboration is about being in this room, but it's also about trying to reach a bit further. So we do tend to record everything we do, so people who can't be here because they're busy running their ventures can access this gold information, because we know it is really good information. So I'm going to come to the panel probably one by one and give you just about 10 minutes each so that we can get as much as we can in. But I'm going to start with you, Vic, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So I might do this slightly closer. So Vic, can you tell me why collaborate? What are the benefits of collaboration, especially for social ventures?
I was this morning, actually, when I was getting ready, I was listening to Radio 4 because I am that person right now. And actually I've been for a few years. And they're interviewing a guy, I don't know if anyone heard it, interviewing a guy about Band-Aid. They've started, bring out a Band-Aid musical. And the guy said it was just a great example of how when people come together and take action, the change they can make. Now that's a huge, massive scale, you know, that was countries and countries and millions of people and pop stars. But if we look at the recent post office scandal and people coming together to create change, you know, it's working in silo can be good, but more often than not, there's richness that comes from working together with people and in partnership and in collaboration. Us as solo social entrepreneurs haven't got all the skills and all the experience, and to bring an organisation or an individual in, or to have at least, you know, just like Nicola was saying, it doesn't have to be a big connection. Then more goodness can happen. That's my benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And although that doesn't have to be like, it can be, so I've worked on loads and loads of partnerships. I've worked on media partnerships, I've worked on sponsorships, I've worked on contra deal partnerships where like no money changes hands, worked on project partnerships, funding partnerships, all sorts of partnerships.
About to have our building partnership.
Yes, there's different types. It's not just like a project partnership either. There's loads of different types of projects as well. But the main thing I'd say, they're mutually beneficial.
Mutually, absolutely. And how do they typically come about, if there is a typical?
So for Mike Media, most people approach. So the model with Mike Media is that we are not grant reliant, no grant funding. It's all tradable income, and we have it's a client business relationship, but it's not just an exchange of services. So I'm not just giving them a bag or a phone. We're working together closely to develop that project, develop that podcast, develop the training. And so there is an element of collaboration there. But the reason why they come to me is because, and not to sound like I'm a big shot,
Well, you kind of are. You kind of are. You think you're not, but you really are.
She hasn't mentioned big awards you won last year yet.
But it's come across through like reputation, it's come across through networking, it's come across through being seen as this podcast person. Like, I don't shut up about podcasts, so
A real identity.
yeah, the identity. I was thinking earlier when you said something, if like I ever stop podcasting, I'll have nothing to do. Like, I don't know any different. I don't want to think about.
Painting walls in Bowbottom.
Yeah, or becoming sort of like the super cat lady with wearing a poncho. I'm happy with that. But let's hope that doesn't happen. So yeah, so it's building reputation and putting yourself in the places where you want people to collaborate with you. Making a good name for yourself, and building your profile. That's why people come to me.
So that's your process. That's really interesting. And then in terms of ensuring that collaborations go well, and then potentially continuing that relationship beyond an initial project, what would be your tips and advice on that?
Make it a good experience. Like for yourself, because you'll know as well if you don't want to work with anyone anymore. I think people have worked with people before, know the people, had the fingers burnt, know they're not going to get back to that person, and they're like, oh, horrible turns, and you just chalk it down to experience. But be a good egg, be nice to people, make it mutually beneficial, be flexible. Like, I'll give you an example of a big partnership I recently worked on, a project called Right to Streets in North Trafford, that was promoting safer streets for women and girls, beyond the usual let's cut down the hedges or put up CCTV. And it was a big project with GM Moving, Trafford Council, Open Data Manchester, loads of partners, and we were one of them to make the accompanying podcast. And so that involved working with not only GM Moving, but also the main partners in the programme, but then also working with local community groups. So there was an element there of being flexible and plate spinning. But that worked really well, and that's our fourth time working with GM Moving and Eve at GM Moving.
You built your way up to that, though, haven't
you?
Yeah. I know it's like, that's a few years down the line.
Oh yeah, that's 4 years after I founded Mike to be on part of the main partners on a huge regional £500,000 project. So and then down to I run a community for podcasters, that's got nearly 2,000 members across the world, and low-level partnerships. I ask a podcast host from Sheffield if they'd like to give us some money to put on a physical meetup. They get their name on our marketing. They get their name on a mail out to 2,000 podcasters across the world, and we've got some money to have some beer and hire out a venue in Manchester or London. So it's, if you're approaching people for partnerships, thinking about what's beneficial for them.
Brilliant, thank you. My last question was going to give me an example, but you've already done that. So just, is there anything else you want to share with the group? Any other tips or advice or things that you think they'd find useful?
Another good example is pie. So I think I like to think about what, I mean, I've got experience with working young people. I've designed leadership programs, national leadership programs for young people, but I don't have like a harem of young people like that.
Not sure that's the right word.
What about my harem is like a
Lots of
like a
Collection.
yeah, a collection of, yeah. Is that the wrong word?
I think the gaggle might sound
All right.
better. Like
A gaggle, yeah, a gaggle of
sweet English.
young people. And then also Beth likewise doesn't have in-house people to deliver podcast training. So then we come together. We've got projects that young people can create podcasts, and Beth's teaching her young people, offering skills that they wouldn't learn anywhere else. So that's an example of a mutually beneficial relationship as well, and partnership.
And it's remembering you don't have to do every part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you've got I don't know, a project or a service, or you've got a group of people, you've got a space, like Claire's got a space here at the Village Road Company, and you don't have to be everything and find everything. If you find someone to work with, the jigsaw becomes a lot easier.
Like Mike Media wouldn't exist without partnerships, but my partnerships are closely aligned to being clients as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Beth, I'm going to come to you. I'm just going to adjust the screens.
My angle.
Beth, so tell us, why collaborate?
Okay, I think actually what you just said, Shelley, is a really great place to start. For me, as someone who's an ex-teacher, as an English teacher, I was sort of sat in my first Flourish session about 6.5 years ago. At that first session, one of the people I met was Vic. And I think I learned very quickly there's some things I can do and some things I can't. And actually, as someone who's running an organisation, you need to pick and choose quite quickly, okay, what's important for me to do and what's important for someone else to do. So actually things like my accountant, that was the first thing I invested in, was an accountant. So I was like, I am not dealing with that. First of all, I did a programme with SSE, School of Social Entrepreneurs, and I just remember there's a girl on my course who was like, oh, what if I go to jail because of my tax? And I was like, and I'm still like, yeah, but what if you do go to jail? But yeah, so it's just one of the things. I ain't got the time to do it. I've not got the interest to do it. I was an English teacher, not a maths teacher. That's all I'm like in terms of like numbers. So I just think in terms of collaborations, and that's just one example. I think in terms of collaborations as well, really broadens your reach. When I first started, for the first couple of years, like I think most people are, I was like a one-person band. I used the royal we from the outset. So everyone's like, oh, we. I'm like, yeah, we at Pie. Me. Or just sat down the local coffee shop or something, or in a pub with Vic. And it was that's how collaborations happen. But in terms of, it was that idea of reaching out and actually realising that other people could bring breadth to what we offer. As I said, we work with young people to help get them future ready. Collaborations are an absolute vital part of what we do. I can't offer work experience. I mean, I can do, these days we do offer things like that. However, I can't do workplace visits. I don't have a link. I can't take people walk around the university and have like an insight into university. I can go and tell them where I hung out at university and things like that, but I can't do taster lectures. And so those partnerships since the very, very outset have been absolutely vital for us, be it a career place workshop, be it a university, be it someone like Vic who can come and offer different workshops for us, be it organisations like Flourish who can offer us support for me and as an organisation, be it some of the partners in the room like Simone from the Goodness Collective. Like we run a programme called The Wave of Change. We're currently running our 8th programme. We've just had funding for our 9th and 10th programme, which is terrifying. That Simone came to me a few years ago, like, let's do this thing. And I was like, all right. But it's that kind of thing, like I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I did personally without collaboration. And as an organisation, we've had the growth and scaling up that we've had because we've embraced that collaboration. And also now I think that collaborative approach is absolutely essential in the way I work as an organisation with my staff as well. So in terms of it's not me here and like we are very, very collaborative. But I do think within the social enterprise world and the VCSE sector, collaboration also makes the makes more good happen. So in terms of me and Simone talk all the time about funding that we get within to run our Wave of Change programme in Stockport. We try and ensure that as much money from that programme as possible is spent with other organisations in Stockport. So last week we had digital sessions which Claire ran for us, and whenever we have catering for anything, we will use Starting Point down in Woodley, who are a social enterprise themselves. So we try and ensure, and that again, it's making that, someone's going to look at now, it's that pound go round a little bit further, but that's where real social good happens. And I think as well, it's just the idea of everything that we do, and collaborations strengthen the work we do, and most importantly to me, allow a wider range of young people to have opportunities and have the opportunity to become future ready in a wide way. It doesn't need to be, I think that idea of it doesn't need to be me, like I'm not precious about I need to be the one delivering this and this. I'd be in an early grave by now if I did that with everything. But it's the idea of understanding what to let go of and what collaboration can enrich your offer, rather than thinking it all needs to be you.
And how do you or do you approach organisations or individuals? How do you start that relationship going? How do you get the partnership going?
I think I'm a big believer there's two ways, isn't there? I'm a big believer in organic relationships and collaborations growing. So Vic's already mentioned our collaborations and the partnerships we've done. That's come about over the years. Like we first met at Flourish event, where I was like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm doing this thing, and we were like, at some point this will come together and be beautiful. And we've done loads of different projects now together. So I think it's the idea of letting things grow, and like again, similarly with Simone, like we'd met at events and then it was like, and then an opportunity came up. She approached me. I'm a big believer in sort of ensuring as many people as possible know about what you're doing, and then when people are doing something which you can add to, they will approach you, or they can approach you. And I'm really trying to ensure now that if we approach people, we approach them with funding. Like I don't buy it, we just make me a podcast, because that's not right. Like it's that idea of making sure that collaboration, what you said, that idea of it's got to be mutually beneficial in some way. And so I think there's that way in terms of letting things organically grow. I'm a big believer in having a chat with someone and not forcing collaboration. I think collaborations will come about as and when they're supposed to. So I know there's a couple of people like me and Nadine have been saying for years, like, we need to sit down and have a conversation. Yeah, we do, because there's lots of similarities in what we do, and it'll happen when it happens. And we both said that to each other, that we know that it'll happen as and when the time is right. And so that I'm a big believer in that. I think in terms of strategic collaborations, we've just been awarded a big new commission for a project in Tameside, which is actually about collaborating with different schools and coordinating enrichment to ensure that across the borough they've got a broader and more equal and fair enrichment within schools. I've got some one of the reasons we've done that, we've done a lot of work in Tameside over the years, but I'm currently now trying to start from scratch and approach new schools and new people. Like, hi, I'm Beth from Pi. Do you want to come and take part in this project with us? It's really difficult, try to figure out on a school website who the right person is to email, and break the code of what their email address might be based on the ones that is it their initial and their surname or whatever. Yeah, I'm quite good at doing that. If anyone ever needs one, I've got a few responses. But it's really difficult to be like, because when you are in the world that you're working in and you become more established, and then it's like, oh, these people don't know who I am or don't know what the work we do. So you can try and do everything that you can to send things over to them. But I think it's trying to be strategic. So I've done, I've become like this LinkedIn person this week. Like, who can I find at Tameside Council? Like all this kind of thing. None of them have responded to me there. But it's using those tools that you can, using the links you've already got, using using my knowledge of schools and being able to figure out who the right person would be to email in that school. And I think in terms of one thing, sorry, this is very schools, but I think generally, like admin at email addresses, just don't even bother, because it's never going to get to the right person. Like if you need a specific person, like a strategic collaboration, do a bit of research, because if you email admin at a school, or I imagine it's just going to go to the receptionist or someone, and it's going to spend 6 months being pinged around loads of different people in the school. If you're lucky. But yeah, so I just think trying to be strategic if you need to, but again, not focusing to like looking at collaborations that you need if you need to be strategic, not looking at them for the sake of it. I think every collaboration should bring value to you and your organisation, but also to your beneficiaries as well.
And also, it's just incredibly challenging to get response cold. So get yourself in a room, talk to people face to face, take advantage of opportunities to tell people what you do, because once you've made that actual connection, sending an email is going to be so much more
I
powerful.
think as well, using like in terms of collaboration, like collaboration can be anything in terms of from actually, yeah, I need a podcast workshop. I'm going to pay Vic to do that podcast workshop for me. I need an office space. Flourish, we're opening a new office space. Like we can collaborate in that way. But it can also be about I'm already working with you, so actually, can you help me to do this kind of? So, for example, using the Tameside Schools link, we've already got relationships with 6 schools in Tameside. So I've also been saying to them, I've got this new project. Have you got any links at other schools? And actually, we've got 2 schools signed up via our links at other schools, because then it's not a cold email. So actually, collaborating in other ways, because that again, I'll always say, oh, we've done, you know, as long as schools or whoever, as long as your clients, the people you're working, feel like they're getting value from you, they're then going to want to try and help as well. And I'm a big believer in that, like it's mutually beneficial, but making sure that people feel value in what you do.
Thank you. Claire, how about you? Why collaborate?
You get to, firstly, you get to do more things. So you've got all the usual commercial benefits of I'm one person running quite a small business in a little bit of Stockport. So you get to kind of do more, because when I'm not running the Village Web Company, I also run like a small charity which supports families who've got children with ADHD. So it's like there's people about, it's like a side hustle, also work part-time at 2 universities, sort of tutoring students with web development. But I was sat in a webinar earlier this week where they were talking about memory retrieval. Now, because of everything I know about space and everything I know about ADHD, my questions in the chat are like, so how do we sort of maximise that for neurodiverse students who, when we're talking about working memory, that's all of this stuff, because I'm still me, regardless of what hat I'm wearing, you get little bits of it. So it's like I've met Nadine in the past, but not in person, but we've been part of other groups because of some of the work that Nadine does, and I know your cousin. And so you get little bits of that sort of thing. But also when people know, oh, wait a minute, websites, Claire does that. You kind of, you're in that thing. But networking used to be, right, I better be suited and booted, I better be there for 7:30, I better have a big wad of business cards. And it's almost like blackjack dealing, where they're like dishing the cards out. But really, the real networking is, I was stood next to you when we were getting a brew. Hi, I'm Claire, what do you do? That's the stuff that lasts. And also the people who you meet, the great thing about particularly social enterprises is they will introduce, you get to work with lovely people and they introduce you to other lovely people.
Yeah.
So I went to a Flourish event with my space hat on, looking for ideas of ways that I could get more money for our charity to support our families. While I was there, I met Simone. If you've met Simone, you're now connected to every social enterprise. It's just a thing. But then through sort of starting to work with Simone and becoming part of the Goodness Collective, well, when Simone and Beth started the Wave of Change, they involved me with that because they know that I do digital skills training. And then by meeting Beth, Beth then introduced me to Seamus at Send Code in Manchester. And I'm now working with them to help their students build websites and do things, because actually writing code is one thing, but some of the social stuff. So if you've got additional needs, you can be the best programmer in the world, but not every workplace is going to be the best place for you to be. So you get these connections, you get to go to things. It's like everyone I've met in this room, I've either met because we've been at a thing, or we've met online, or maybe we've seen each other. It's that naturalness. But yeah, you get to do more things, more people get to know what you do, and it sort of works out. But also you find out about opportunities that you wouldn't even have heard about. So it's like, I'm a member of the RHS. I'm on their mailing, well, I'm not now, I was last year, but I'm on their mailing list. They send out an email about being able to give away free plants and bulbs for people running sort of gardening and plant-based outdoorsy stuff. Definitely not me. Big fan of the plants and wandering around the garden, not something that I do in my work. But straight away, I forwarded that email to 2 people who were running social enterprises, and I know that at least one of them managed to get some money out of it. So it's kind of a collaboration, but actually, in that case, it was just me forwarding an email. But because I knew what Marva and I know what Kel do, I know that they have green spaces, I know they plant things. This seems like it might be for you. If it isn't, whiz it in the bin. But it's those little it kind of gets you into more places. And also it's quite nice
Mm.
because especially when you're grassroots and you're just starting off, a lot of the time there is just you, maybe you in your small sort of back bedroom, maybe you on your kitchen table, or in my case, maybe you in your massive big space by yourself using a tiny corner of it. So being able to do things, go to other places, it's part of your constant learning. You're learning about new things, you're upping your skills, you're finding out about stuff you didn't know about. And also you're getting to meet new people and you're just almost doing that without even trying. So it's, yeah, all the good things.
Oh, thanks, Kate. You brilliantly answered all my questions.
If we'd listened to like the previous questions, and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
I wrote notes and everything.
Coming up.
Yeah,
Anything else
list
you
of
want-
questions.
Anything else you want to add, or any tips or advice that you want to add before we move?
I think some of it as well is don't collaborate for the sake of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes you'll be part of a group or part of a network. So people are like, oh, right, you're part of like a Black business owners network. We should definitely work together.
Yeah.
Work together because that person is good at what they do and you want to work with them. It's not enough that we both tick that box.
Yeah.
Oh, you're neurodiverse, right? You better work with me because I'm neurodiverse, because that can go downhill really fast. Yeah. It's got to be someone that firstly can do the job. So as much as I might be adorable and fun to hang about with, if I don't know how to build websites, that's not really going to work. You couldn't bring me in to do digital skills training if I didn't know what I was talking about. It's not enough that, oh, we've got this thing in, we're both women, we're both Black, we've both got, it's not enough. You need to pick the right people.
Yeah.
Have mates, be mates with anyone you want, but this is your business, this is your reputation, this is the people you want to support going forward. If you tank it, all the elderly people in the village who can wander in here and get Claire to help them, if I don't get the other bit right, well, Irene, who came in yesterday, who's 80 years old and is having a nightmare with Virgin Media, if I'm not here, where does she go? That's what it boils down to. It's like, yeah, as much as I can put a suit on and look slick and do all of that, actually, the social enterprisey bit, the giving back, the stuff that I do for my community, that won't work if I don't do the other stuff. And getting that balance, and also every time you involve somebody else, put somebody else in your ship who's going to sink it. It's like, actually, you sit in your canoe over there, and yeah, we can be mates and we can float about in the sea, but you've got to know that if it's business, it's you need to know that they can do the job.
I think it's also as well, Shelley alluded to this before, like if there's collaborations that are not working for you, like don't be afraid to walk away from it. Like I think that's very, certainly when you're starting out, like there's been some schools that we've worked with in the past that I don't work with anymore and I won't work with again because of the way that they didn't value what we were doing or didn't respect like our ethics, and that was just basically made, and I was like, well, I'm not going to come work with you again because it's, and I feel bad because that's the young people at that school, we're not, but at the same time that's not worked for me, it was causing issues. So I think in terms of collaboration, when you're first starting out, it's really easy to, I think even still now, like I'm getting much better at going, no, but it's very difficult at first go, oh yeah, well of course, like because that'll give us a bit of money, or they're a really big name, or they're really well known, so I need to work with them. Like do what's right for you and don't be afraid to step away from a collaboration if it's not right.
It's got to be a good fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay.
Keep it brief. I'll go and get comes back.
Rachel, I think you know what's coming.
I'm going to give more practical tips if that's all right. Okay. Me and Craig would not be here. We've never had any money, and we started the pub with £2,000, and now it turns over 600,000. That's not funded, and we have up to 25 staff. And I can't believe that a lot of times, but we got the pub, even the lease of the pub was from building a partnership. So you are valuable as a social enterprise. You can reduce people's business rates by them getting you in there. You can help them with their social corporate responsibility. So every big organisation has a stakeholder plan or a social responsibility plan. And I urge you to go and read that before you ever go and pitch or reach out to people. And you can kind of say the things they want to hear, if that makes sense. And I call it buzzword bingo. Every year there's a new buzzword. And we all do, because we're doing social enterprise, we're all doing the same themes. I've been fighting poverty, capitalism, housing, poor mental health. But every year there's a new word for it. and you're going to have to try and find out that word. And if you put that in email, ding, people will reply to it because they want you to make their lives easy. So also when you're pitching to people, just make it quick. And I don't mean to be mean, but I don't have very much time. So I'm always like, what do you need from me? So tell me 3 things that I can do for you to help your organisation. Don't sometimes go into that massive spiel. Just be like, this is what I want from you. This is what we can do for you. Boom. Even getting in the pub, the previous landlord wanted to pass on the debt of the lease, and I knew that he was trying to do that. So me and Craig approached the university, tried to get them involved, which we did. That's how I met Nicola. And then we wrote a pitch to our property developer, the landlords, Bruntwood, reading their strategy, and almost gave them what they wanted to hear for their tick box, which is also what we wanted to do. And I got peppercorn rent from that. So I went from almost having a ridiculously huge lease to barely paying anything, and that was from building partnerships. That's large stakeholders. That's not my favorite people to work with. I like working with the community groups. I will go out and work with community groups regardless if I'm being paid or not. I've built up real trust over 10 years, and I will not use them. So that's really important, like what you said too. Your groups are your reputation, your network, but also my well-being and my life. And because I have access to marginalised groups, or whatever the word is this year, academics want access to those groups. Minority, what is the word? You know what I mean? It's just for years. But academics want access to those groups, and they have lots and lots of money, and they will come out into the community and mine your groups, and they'll write a report, and they'll publish it, and they'll get all the praise. But you've done all that work building that community. So really understand your communities are of value, not for your own well-being, but to other people. So don't get used, and know that, and approach the universities, because the universities want to be engaging with all these different groups, especially when it's health, well-being, mental health. There's different approaches now. What else can I tell you? How do you approach people in organisations? Yeah, honestly, reading strategies. Everyone told me we couldn't get any land for the housing co-op. Everyone, for years, they were like, it's not possible, blah, blah, blah. And I did it. And that was just emailing people, making sure you say the right things, reading all the strategies, going out, having a look around. And I can't tell you, really doing your research and understanding what people stand for and what their values are. Any tips to ensure partnerships work well?
It's the self-organising panel. I'm loving it.
Sorry. Keep listening. So my community will come to me with an issue and we'll work on it together. So in lockdown, we had this realisation there was a lot of elderly people in the houses around in the estates who couldn't access Twitter, couldn't get good food as it was selling out. So we built a partnership between Acorn, the housing activists, with Geeks for Social Change, who I work for now, and who was our Gaskell Garden Project. And Gaskell was collecting surplus food from the supermarkets. I've got this big kitchen. Geeks for Social Change and me built this system where we could collect people's orders, and we're still using it today. And Acorn went and knocked on all the doors, and they're my volunteers. And if you do a partnership well and break it down into the silos that you guys are really good at, it can be so easy. And also designing things so that if someone steps away, someone can fill the role really quickly. Not everything's on you. And I think that's one of the dangers in social enterprises. We want to take on everything ourselves, or replicate something work that's already been done. And maybe we should be adding to the work that's already existing rather than trying to set up a new
And with
organisation.
that partnership, you set up TV dinners, is that right?
Yes, and it's still going to the day, and the model can be replicated and done again and again and again. And we've been fed 70 families a 2-course hot meal for the last 4 years. And I'm really, really proud of that. And then on top of that, we do a quarterly feast where we bring together all the people who wouldn't normally come to the pub for loads of reasons. And I made partnerships with our closest neighbour is Ahmadiyya Mosque, and I love them. And we're so close.
They're brilliant.
And it's such a, people think on the outside that we wouldn't be friends, and me and Dean are always going for coffee. So you can build partnerships with really people that on paper people think you might not have the same values, but we both do loads of community work. So that's been amazing. And definitely not being used. Like you don't have to have a partnership with someone. Like I think sometimes we just want all these names on our badge and stuff like that.
Thanks, Rachel. Abba.
Okay.
Alice, why-
Kind of need to just island me with the questions.
No worries. So, yeah, why collaborate? What are the benefits of
Okay.
collaborating with social
Okay.
ventures?
I think there's three words I would use. I would use the essence of creating a relationship. I think is really essential. I think I'll start with when I came into this room. I know a few people in this room today that I've been working with for years, but also people that I would also like to work with, because when I heard what you do, it kind of think, wow, what a plethora of gold that we've got in this room. And then I think once you understand that and you begin to recognize what your purpose is in terms of your vision, your value, and it aligns with that other organization. And I think it's something that all of you have all mentioned, where you said that you don't need to work with someone for someone's, with an organization for an organization's sake. It has to align. It has to align with your values. It's crucial. And I think the second point I'd like to make in terms of collaboration, we need to build trust. I think it's really essential that we build trust, because a lot of us as singles social enterprises come with experiences that are sometimes not so good, into, you know, especially at your starting infancy stage. And when you align yourself with somebody who's good, then you begin that relationship in terms of that collaboration. And I think those are the kind of relationship that would last. And that's what we're looking for. So for me, when I started, I've been on this road for a long time, but recently got a hub in the center of Stockport. And essentially, it was with conviction in the first instance that I kind of stepped out and kind of thought, but you know, there's a need, but also there's something that really could prove really profitable, not essentially financially, even though that's the goal, that's a bonus, but profitable in changing people's life, in embracing the idea that ethnic diverse communities and are visible in this space, you know, and they bring something to this space in terms of whether it's through their personal professionalism or through their enthusiasm to be part of the community and stuff like that. So through that space, there's a whole lot of collaboration going on. I think it's essential. But again, like I repeat again, is you kind of need to align to the values and the vision or that you both have. It has to align. If it doesn't align, then it is a pointless relationship, because somebody would take advantage of somebody. And so it's really crucial for that to happen. What else is this?
Do you have any on that? Do you have an example of a partnership that you've been involved with that's been really effective, that's worked well? Just talk us through how that came about.
Simone. Well, no, seriously. I know everybody's calling Simone, but she is just that one powerhouse. Yeah. So, and so I kind of just went to Simone. I said, look, there's this idea that a lot of ethnic diverse communities have got real great ideas, but they don't have the transitional pathway in terms of developing it into something really good. Could we set up something like the Ethnic Diverse Enterprise Network? Again, without hesitation, and that relationship worked really well. It's still ongoing. We did about 12 sessions, was it, Simone?
Yes.
And obviously it's not like a lot of people have now moved on and developed their own, because there were people who didn't have any clue about how to navigate that pathway. But then there are people who were already on that journey. So there was all different levels of people within that setting. And so that is continued today. And so I've got 12 organizations that, and now we've got to know better. We're collaborating together, set up like markets, like cultural markets and stuff like that. So, you know, it's that, again, recycling that pound as well and stuff like that. In another context, I've worked with Nadine. We're always working in different junctures. Work with Princetta. All these people here. So, you know, there's always somebody to collaborate with. And I think my biggest venture at the moment is pushing the local authority. I think they have a part to play in actually supporting their community and recognize that they have people in the community that if they give opportunity to, they could become very successful. So my newest venture is to challenge the local authority and how it support professional refugees, because they have excellent credentials, if you like. So we've got on our database accountants, engineers, pilot, you name it, we've got it. But yeah, these cohort group, most of them do things like pizza delivery and stuff, and I just don't think that's right. So what I said to the local authorities that pound has been spent out of the locality rather than in the locality. So somebody somewhere is missing a trick, because if you've not made something for somebody in this locality, they're going to go out in another locality and spend that pound. So what we need to create is the employment, we create the visible shops, because when I look in my locality, I don't see visibility of African Caribbean shops or lots of Asian shops that can serve people, in the way it should. So that's the work that I'm doing at the moment, in time to embrace the professional refugees, to get them, not really necessarily to get them into employment in terms of favoritism, but more around looking at positive action in terms of leveling up and sort of creating that space where they can then get a foot in as well. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely, that's brilliant, thank you. So I think, is there anything burning that anyone from the panel would like to add before I'm going to ask Rachel to talk a bit about PlaceCal?
Oh,
but yeah,
can I just add, good people to contact is neighbourhood officers for the council. They've got bits and pots of funding, and they're meant to be good at connecting you up to bigger things. And then mine's quite good. So it's hit and miss.
Fire there, that isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a baptism of fire.
Yeah,
I'll just
yeah.
throw one in there. It's definitely worth doing. My goodness, if you're wondering who all your local councils are,
Yeah.
apply for a little bit of neighbourhood funding, my lord. Yeah.
And then
it's like Dragon's Den meets magistrates. Yeah.
And I was going to say, finding out who your local councils are and making friends with local councils, but not getting too close to any of them because they will fall out of each other.
Yeah.
And housing associations, I'm not the biggest fan of our one Manchester, but housing associations are good to get a bit of spots of funding and get your name out, and then they've got the social contracts too.
Just want to say that how we start our group. So the woman group was funded by Onward, which is the housing association in area that Donna in.
Oh, brilliant.
Stay in Play Children's Book start with funded from 6 Town Housing, which is the other deprived area that you're in. And you got a little bit from the council.
Yeah.
£150 something, but then she tell people about.
Yeah, but that's then you can put those logos on your work, and then before you know it, everyone's like, oh, they've got the council, they've got a housing association.
Famous in Barry.
I was just going to say, but I think in terms of like collaboration too, sometimes like if you're talking about it being beneficial for both sides, talk about transactional and things like that. I suppose sometimes it might, I said before about, I'd never ask it to like make me a podcast if I wasn't paying her. However, I've got other organisations like Nicola from Stockport. We do sort of skill swaps and skill share. So she came and ran like a team strategy day for us earlier in the year, and I've done some training with some of her staff about working with young people and things like that. So sometimes that kind of collaboration as well. Think about the skills you've got to offer. Think about what you want from your if you've not got any money. Actually, what can you train?
Yeah, I think there's another important point. So particularly if you're in your infancy, for some of you who are starting off, knowing what transaction to charge, because some people are really quite hesitant in really saying, and Simone taught me this. Simone is, gosh, you. You know, because I used to do everything for nothing. You know, I was just going, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. But you have to put value on yourself, and also not even putting value yourself doesn't mean you shortchange yourself. You have to really sort of say, if your value is £99 instead of £9, keep to £99. Somebody will buy into it, and it's that thing, isn't it? You know, you just have to be really clear about what your worth is and stick to your worth, and somebody will buy into that.
And also, if you want to do things and you don't want to charge, just do that consciously. If you've decided, actually, I'm going to support this organisation by hosting their website and not charging them, or whatever it is that you can do, it doesn't mean that you can't ever do it. Just don't make it your default.
No, we quickly map that out to show the social value that you're giving back to the community by giving 10 free websites. And that's the value. That's a.
I was going to say, social. If you can do a little social value snapshot, and then there's stuff you can do in kind, or that you bring in kind, which has a monetary value, which funders like, which you might not know you have within your organisation. Like, say you've got expertise in something that your normal day rate outside of your enterprise would be £200. You put that in kind, and same for space. Like, I bet giving your space state is in kind.
Don't start the payment.
As well. Like, I genuinely think, like, in terms of, first of all, that in terms of making sure that there's that payment. Two things. So obviously one of our collaborations with schools. So we as social enterprise, with some programs are paid for by local council, by schools or whatever, but then we also do apply for funding. Something I learned quite quickly was I make everyone, if I am running a funded program, I make them sign a contract so they know how much that program actually costs. Because just in terms of, so with schools, they pay, like, they sign a service level agreement saying this is the cost. There's no cost to school for this program. However, the cost of this program based on our funding is this much. I also then add something in that if for whatever reason something happens that means that they don't withhold their side, that they could be liable to pay back, because obviously we're liable as an organisation providing that project to show that.
And it's a cost to you.
Of course there is. And there's also just from that as well, like, so as I said before, there's some schools we don't work with anymore for that reason. But also just trust your gut when it comes to collaborations, like me and Vic's favourite phrase, like good eggs. Like, you know, there are people that you'll meet, like, I want to work with you. There's also people who you're like, like, sometimes you do, sometimes it is right to push through that. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, if there's a reason that you would think, I don't actually know if I want to collaborate with you, for whatever professional or personal reason that is, it's not probably going to work as a collaboration if your heart's not in it. So trust your gut. Sorry,
no, don't worry, that's great. I really recommend the Federation of Small Businesses if you're starting off, because they have legal advice, a hotline. They do, I can't remember what the word is, but if you don't get your invoices paid on time, they can help you cover those costs, which is a really, cash flow is one of your biggest problems. And then they do contracts, and then you've got that bigger organisation if you have any issues that you can go to, and they'll be that person inside. And then
interesting. Sorry, Rachel.
So just as you get bigger, look for our other unions or organisations. So we joined Music Venue Trust 10 years ago, and it's been one of the best things we ever did. But then we can campaign nationally for what you're doing, and then you're part of something bigger, and you can push your agenda that way.
Brilliant, thank you. We are in about 5 minutes, we're going to take a break, but before we do, and before we stop recording, I'd just like to ask Rachel to tell us a bit about PlaceCal, and then Simone's going to talk a bit about some of the good opportunities that are going on. So if you can just, I know everyone's desperate to start chatting because there's loads to talk about here, but we will be breaking these discussions.
So just very quickly, like, I made my living out of doing events on Facebook when I was in my 20s. I did club nights. And it was amazing, and loads of people could build up a career. And then I moved into community work, and lots of communities use Facebook. It's that kind of era. But what happened in lockdown is we've got too many apps, Zoom, as everyone saw in different groups access information differently. And there was a real issue about how do you tell people what's going on in their local community? Because we live in this day and age where I know what's going on in Palestine, but I don't know what's happening to my neighbour. So my boss, who they're an activist in Hume and have done loads of work and helped me do TV dinners, came up with this amazing idea of linking people's Google calendars to a website which pulls in all the information. And that way, you can just go on your phone, and if you're cancelling your event, you just cancel it on your phone and it's deleted everywhere else. But one of the things I find in community work is someone will do a coffee morning on a Monday for a specific thing. It'll get put onto the internet. Forevermore, it'll be on there at 10 o'clock on a Monday. And we all know how hard it is to get the confidence to go to a group. And if you go that one time and that person's not there, or you get the wrong reaction, you're never going to go again. So it's really affecting community work. So what we've got is this platform, PlaceCal, where we can link it to your Eventbrite. Flourish is linked to Eventbrite. You never have to log on, do you, Shelley? It's just there. It's good at one.
Yeah.
And I really want to make a listings of every single Flourish partner in here. So you're all on one page with a bio, a picture, your links to your website. And then I want to link your calendars. And then Nicola can go to funders and say, look, in the Flourish network, there's 5,000 events in this area.
Mhm.
But it will just link us all
Not
up.
just to hoover up cash for us, by the way.
But I think sometimes we don't realise how much of our work's going on, because it's really easy to think through. Like, I didn't know. It's so amazing to see all of you and hear about your projects. I would love to be able to see it in one place, know when your events are, know what's going on.
And everyone
And
knows
be able
how
to share it.
time-consuming it is to promote your events, to get people along, to remind them that they're happening. It's a big.
I think we've been relying on our local councils or our CVSs, no offence, but you know, to do this for us, and it's such a hard task to do, and actually the knowledge is in us. They haven't got the budget or the time or the consistent staff necessarily to be able to come and say, when's your next event, tell us what's going on with your newsletter. It all gets too convoluted, so having it kind of automatically happen is something that we're keen to trial. So yeah, Rachel's going to be here throughout the day to be able to if we want to learn more and they want to get signed up and give it a go, you know, once you sign out of it, the more we can kind of plug together in this collective calendar, the more we'll know what's going on with each other. We don't have to phone or email, we can see it there.
So people, sorry, I was going to say, people here can sign up with Rachel. Anyone listening to the recording, how do they get in touch with you?
You can email me at Rachele at PlaceCal. No, can I put my email in?
I'll put it in the put it in the show.
Put it in the chat. Yeah.
And I'm going to try and come to a lot of Flourish things so you can sign up in person.
Brilliant, thank you. Simone, did you want to say a bit about Proper Good? Yeah. Would you want to sit down? Come sit down, Simone. Everyone who's listening at home, this is Simone, who we've heard so much from.
I felt like I paid them all. I've met a lot of you, which is lovely. So I'm Simone. I'm going to disappoint half the room now, because if you're in Stockport, it's probably not as relevant to you. Yeah. So my name's Simone. I am the coordinator for the Proper Good project in Stockport. So anything that is social enterprise related, if you're thinking of starting up, if you've got a social enterprise, if you're well in and you're thinking of scaling, we have got some support in Stockport for you. So we worked with Nicola and Shelley at Flourish to part share in bringing these to Stockport, because we saw the impact they were having in the rest of Greater Manchester, and I was like, we want a bit of that here. So
we are based here now, aren't we?
And look how busy it is, it's working. And then also, so the first year really was like testing and learning, seeing what people wanted. Again, back to the conversations the panel have been having about, rather than doing to you. So just putting on all the things, actually, what do you need? What is helpful? So we've been listening to the social entrepreneurs that have been connecting with us. We've got a mentor project that's just started. So you've just missed that cohort. But the plan is that actually, if you want support, there is like drop-in type support. So things like this, we haven't got one planned for a while, but I'm sure we will get to that. Have a drop-in one Wednesday a month at Stockport Central Library, where we also run a finance session. We've got small group support, we've got an independent bookkeepers group, we've got CPD for established social entrepreneurs. So depending where you're at, the first point really is to come to drop in, like Gemma did last week, I think it was, and we inundated you with information and things to do. Sometimes I feel we overwhelm you, because there is a lot going on. So yeah, there is a page on Sector 3, who are the voluntary community support in Stockport. They have a page on their website about all of the events that we've got going on. We're adding to that. I'm looking to do some startup support a couple of times a year, because the first year was very much a lot of me and I don't have capacity to sit with everyone, so people were getting delayed because they were waiting to speak to me, whereas actually if we've got a day where we can push you into it makes a little container for me to then think, okay, well, what's the next steps? Yeah, so just really wanted you to know about it. Yes, there's Flourish who are doing amazing jobs and they serve the wider Greater Manchester. There are 4 proper good areas actually. So if you're in Oldham, Wigan, Bolton, they also have a proper good that's run slightly differently but still accessible. And we're pretty flexible, so we'll try and squeeze you into things if we can. But because of the funding, it's Stockport first, and it's Access Foundation and Big Society Capital funded.
And I know there's some people in the room who might not live in Stockport, but they deliver in Stockport.
Yeah.
So are they still eligible?
As long as you've got established delivery, because everybody could come and say we're hoping to deliver in Stockport, but actually we're over in Bolton, so we've got to be really mindful of that. And what we're asking this time, so because people have been accessing support just on a bit of an ad hoc, as you know, with all funded projects, we have monitoring to do. So Flourish are very good at telling us who comes to things, and we're measuring some impact on the flourishing sessions together. But for the rest of it now, apart from dropping, I'm doing like less dip in and out. And if you're coming along on our support journey, we're kind of putting you in a year's cohort, so we will tell you what's going on, and because of that we have to ask you for some information, which is a bit painful because I didn't make the form. It comes from Access Foundation, so the things they want to know, and because Proper Good is also linked to social investment, so the idea that we don't just have to be funding reliant, you can get social investment, which is payable back finance. That what we're finding out about social entrepreneurs is, as the panel have so well been saying, we love the social bit and we love doing and giving, but what we're recognising is when people are going to things like panels for social investment, and this will be the same for funding or commissioning, the business planning is not always there, that the financial skills, we don't always understand our money or our financial projections. Many of us, why would we? We didn't start it for this, but we do need to know them. So we're trying to build that in as well, so that whether you go for social investment or not, it's still really valuable things to know and have in place. Brilliant. And now you can have your brews.
Now I thought, brilliant. Thank you. I just thank you for everyone who's joining on the recording. I'm just going to say goodbye for now while we take a break.